He joins us this morning as he has all season on the Harbor One hotline. Mike, what kind of a mood are you in with a couple days?
I didn't know if I'm on the right channel here. Is this the true crime channel?
Yes. I mean, is there anything better than Dateline on a Friday night? You're at that age. No disrespect.
Well,
but I'm sure.
What's the deal with you and my age, anyway?
Well, I mean, I just sometimes you make jokes about my weight, and I respond with your
I
age.
never made a joke about your weight.
Yes, you did. You said when we were at the Winter Classic that it looked a little bit bigger than the last time you had seen me.
And that's hardly. I mean, get over it.
All right, are you over that collapse?
No, I don't think, and I don't have, and neither do Boston fans have the mind of a goldfish. They're never going to forget it. I mean, that was Ullmark's comment after Game 5, or whatever. He just said we lose some, we win some. That's not gonna fly. And Bruins fans are going to look at this as one of the greatest disappointments. I mean, there have been bigger collapses or failures, I guess. Amongst them, 86 Red Sox, 79 Bruins. I don't put the Patriots' loss in the Super Bowl to the Giants with this ridiculous catch in that category. But this one, given the circumstances, the disappointment that exists today because of the whole season, the record season, because of what I think management did to turn the ship around in a dramatic way. Remember last year in the summer, people were on Neely, people were on Sweeney. All of a sudden, they changed the coach and it looks like they might be heading for the door. And then miraculously, Ullmark finds his game. Lindholm gets healthy. Swayman ascends to a different level. Pavel Zacha comes in a trade. Bergeron and Krejci come back. And it's happy days. The whole year was just happy days. And to make things even more interesting, management goes out and makes what I thought were stellar moves at the deadline, picking up Orlov and Hathaway and Bertuzzi. And there was no reason to think that there wasn't going to be a long run here. But the dominoes began to fall. And the first one was Bergeron. He never should have played in Montreal. He never should have gone there for the Old Lang Syne game. I know he's been trying to say that that was just part of the plan. Well, it shouldn't have been part of the plan. He should have been rested. He's 37, 38 years old. He should have been back in Boston watching the game on TV. This was a group hug, a sentimental journey, and that never should have happened.
And that's on Jim Montgomery, correct?
It's on Jim Montgomery.
That's number one on him. Okay.
Wait, number one, but also it's on Patrice Bergeron.
Okay.
Because if you're Patrice Bergeron, you're at a different level. When you want to do something, you want to be able to play in a game. You've got that status that you can push this first-year coach and into giving him an opportunity to play in Montreal. That's on both Montgomery and Bergeron. There's no question about it. Ullmark got hurt who knows when. He won't tell us what it was. The Bruins won't tell us what it was. But it was clear to me in the early going that Ullmark was not the same goaltender. He wasn't moving as fluidly. He wasn't moving as economically. He wasn't square to the puck. His recovery after he went down looked like he was in considerable pain. I mean, after the fact, there were rumors about, a very serious injury, groin or whatever. But I don't know what it was, but he wasn't the same goaltender. And therefore, there should have been a goaltending change much earlier in the series than there was. Because clearly that was that was a red flag to me. And the red flags continued. Game 1 was, wow, where did they go? They won the game, but it was like Florida was by far the better team. Ullmark did have a good game in that one and kept them alive until they were able to win it. Game 2 was a rout. The surprise of the series were Game 3 and 4, where the Bruins mustered up enough offense to beat them, but then finally the Panthers made a goaltending change that made a difference. And all of a sudden, the ship turned around, and the team that wanted it more, the team that was willing to go to the corners, the team that forechecked particularly, but checked all over the ice better, usually wins. Florida was the better checking team, and all during the season, the Bruins have been a good checking team and a good puck possession team. Florida turned the tables on him.
In your mind, what happened to the defense when it came to the series?
I mean, it's been a long time since Lindholm's played important games. He was awful. I was a huge fan, but it was not just this guy was coughing up the puck. Usually you could count on him to make the transition from offense to defense. First of all, he'd defend well. He wasn't as good a defender in this series, but secondly, once he got possession of the puck, decision making was poor. Turnovers were aplenty. He couldn't take the white heat of the playoffs. That's basically what I said. I thought McAvoy was okay at times,
but disappointing also. He was, speaking of coughing up the puck, he was coughing up the puck. And
yes, he was. That was I don't think I could say it any more clearly. A guy that went from being what I considered to be a Norris Trophy candidate to being like a liability on many shifts. And McAvoy wasn't as assertive as he could have been. And Orlov was, I thought, mostly good, although, that one incredibly obvious gaffe to give up an important goal was there. But down the line, there were all sorts of disappointments.
Who do you assign the majority of the blame to on this?
I hate to listen. The coach has a lot of responsibility here. I thought his use of the goaltenders was ill-advised. I thought his playing, as I called it, playing Betty Crocker with the recipes on defense. Here they had a good lineup, they had things going, and all of a sudden he was trying to tinker with things. And that, if you're the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh defenseman, you're getting pulled in and out of the lineup. Boy, you start to doubt yourself, and that's what happened with Clifton, and I think at times maybe Grzelcyk, although I thought he was better. And I thought the decision to play Bergeron in Montreal was poor. I don't know what happened with Krejci, how he got hurt or what happened there. I mean, give him credit. He had a goal on a great shot in Game 7 and a couple of assists, so he came back. But the go-to guys, couldn't get their horses going. And that's not all the coach. That's he has responsibility here, no doubt, with his handling of the goaltenders, the defensemen, his shifting of lines, his playing people at inappropriate times, and his inability, first and foremost, is to get people to rise to the occasion. I think I've mentioned it before. As a coach, you're in charge of conditioning, motivation, and discipline. And the motivation seemed to be either they were tired, and we worried about that. I worried about that all year long. Remember all the days that they got off?
Yep.
All the time they get. You have to go back and look at that and say, well, did they run out of gas, and why did they run out of gas? And if you thought they were going to run out of gas, why would you play key players in the last 2 games of the season? So, yes, Chris.
Mike, would you classify or just characterize Patrice Bergeron playing in the final game in Montreal as selfish?
I think it was foolish. And I guess maybe you could say there was a little selfishness to it. I think there's nothing. I mean, how can you really fault a guy, blame a guy, I guess would be a better way to put it, for wanting to play one last time in front of his hometown fans, in front of the general manager of the opposing team, who used to be his agent, with his whole family in the stands. It was. I can't blame him, but then I can blame him because there was something more important at stake. There would have been time for a sentimental journey on a more and less dangerous date, and I think it was so. I'm trying to dodge this question, but I guess in the end, I'd have to say yes. It was a little bit selfish.
You'll want to dodge this one too, but go ahead, Wiggy.
Mike. Now I think you're perfect for this. We were
just ask it.
Yeah, we were asking a question about.
Just ask the question.
Do you think Bergeron underachieved through his years?
I knew this was coming.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're perfect to ask.
Yeah, no, I know, we know. That's why you're asking him.
And
yes.
the reason
is Bergeron?
No. But let me phrase it. Why I think
God.
because I feel the same.
Time is running.
Well, that's all right.
Okay, I haven't been able to open my mouth
We don't
once.
need the reason why.
Because I feel like Ray Bourque did the same thing as an underachiever for the time that you were here and the successful player that you were on the ice, but you were able to come away with one championship, captain in this team that was really good for the past 10, 12 years.
Listen, it's disappointing that they didn't win more championships. They had the opportunity to get there. To call him an underachiever, I have trouble with that. I mean, the Bruins organization has been so successful over so long a period, but the brass ring has been elusive. But it's always elusive. I mean, if you're measuring, Jean Rattel or Brad Park on whether they won a championship or not, no, they didn't. But they're in the Hall of Fame. I don't feel that they underachieved. Patrice Bergeron's on the ice for 30% of the game. That's it. 30% of the game. He's got a bunch of other guys that he's got to lean on. I'm sure he would feel like he should have won at least one, if not two more. But listen, you won a championship, right? Mm-hmm. And then you put on a new set of shoes and you go to the office and you're working in radio. Did you underachieve by just working at WEEI, or should you have achieved to go to NBC?
Well, I did underachieve because we lost another championship that I was part of in the Super Bowl.
You didn't answer the question.
Oh, am I an underachiever?
Yeah, right. In your second career. No, I think you're pretty good at it.
I feel like there's no place higher for me to go, Mike.
Mike, what are your thoughts on NBC?
Good answer.
There's no place higher for me to go, Mike. Listen, they don't. You see what they do to us type of people out there when we say things. They try to cancel us.
Yes, PK Subban is in trouble for making a Lizzo lunch joke.
Yeah,
Mike.
we got to be careful.
You can relate to that.
Listen, don't get me started on that guy. I mean, fraudulent doesn't begin to explain how I feel about him. I mean, the fancy suits and the walking around the studio and tiptoeing around like he's Mr. Big Shot. Now, you're talking about underachievers for a guy with his ability. I don't care if he won a Norris Trophy. Mm-hmm. He's a dink.
Big underachiever.
All right, so listen, Ullmark said the other day they're going to run it back. Can you run it back with basically this, this roster and expect to go further?
This roster will not exist in the fall. You've got Bergeron and Krejci unlikely to come back, correct?
Yep.
You've got Bertuzzi and Orlov and Hathaway, all guys that were picked up at the deadline, all unrestricted free agents. Bertuzzi led the team in the first round in scoring. Think he's going to make any money? Orlov's already said he wouldn't mind going back to Washington if it's either Washington or Boston. I think he's 31, 32. He's starting to turn the corner here, so you got to be careful with him. I don't know what's going to happen with the salary cap issues that they have. They got to swallow $4 million in bonus money from Krejci and Bergeron achieving certain levels of performance. And, unless they played the game that they played at the end of the year with Hall and Foligno going on long-term IR, they were going to be way over the cap. They've got some serious work to do, and it's going to take a lot of heart. And I actually feel bad for Sweeney and Neely. I mean, they did everything that they could as managers, including a controversial and dangerous coaching change, to picking up all those guys at the deadline. And what are they left with? They're left with a 7-game overtime elimination that leaves people feeling sour. And let's hope we all have the mind of a goldfish.
Mike, so you talk about this roster not being the same in the fall. You talk about Betty Crocker bearing the majority of the blame for the collapse. Is there any chance that he's not here come the start of next season?
No, I don't think you can do that. I mean, listen, he came in first year, and everyone that I talked to, and even to this day, was shocked at the Bruins being able to do what they did in the regular season. I mean, don't forget how this started with Grzelcyk and McAvoy and Marchand all out, all coming back early. And by the time they got back, you expected them to be on the bubble, but they were riding this wave of happiness and good wins, and it was great to watch. So they fooled everybody at the beginning of the season, and they fooled us at the end. Shame on us.
Mike, we're not done. I think we have one more week to talk hockey with you, right? Next week.
All right.
Yes.
You got it. And but before I go, make sure you don't.
What are you shaking your head about, Courtney?
Nothing.
What,
I
Courtney?
talk
Ask
to
a
Mike.
question.
Okay,
I like
ask
Mike.
your question. Go ahead.
I would love to. Pasta, when it comes to Pasta and him saying that he was hurt with a shoulder injury, does that excuse now what we saw out of him for most of the series?
You know what? I'm tired of this. Let's not tell anybody that we're hurt until it's over and we failed. You know, if you're going to tell me that you're hurt at the end of it, I mean, I didn't mind Ullmark saying, I'm not telling you what's wrong with me. Pasta, go away. You lost. You didn't play as well as you should have. I mean, he scored his goals, and I don't need to know. I don't need to don't pull out the sympathy card for me. I'm not buying it.
Could not agree more. All right, Mike, thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you guys.
All right, it's Mike Milbury. We'll be right back.